Welcome to this training video. In this training video I will show you a number of scenarios of how you can use Live Maps version 3 to monitor your offices and locations. In this video I will show you the different ways how you can group objects by location. I will show you how you can use Live Map to nest views to create consolidated health-aware displays. I will show you how you can create link-aware connections, how you can share your views with other people in your organization, and some things to consider when you start visualizing your location with Live Maps version 3. Here you see some of the scenarios we will cover in this training video. So let's talk about the ways you can group your objects by location using Live Maps v3. There are a number of different options listed here, and we will go through them one by one. First, talk about the list view. A list view allows you to quickly group objects of any type. Adding objects to a list view is done manually using the Live Maps authoring console. And you need to create a list view for every location yourself. An example of a list view is shown below. Let's first create a folder that we will use to group our list views. A list view can be added using the context menu on a folder. Items can be added to a list view by simply drag and drop them on the list. Okay, let's look for some devices in South Africa. I know they all start with the name SA, and I can simply select all the objects, drag and drop them on the list view. There are a number of configuration options you can use to show the items in the list view. Secondly, talk about the dynamic list to group your objects by location. A dynamic list grouping is based on rules. The rules can be targeted to any discovered property, for example a DNS or hostname of a discovered computer. It allows for simple and complex matching operators to be used in the rule definition. Once you have created the rules, the views are dynamically updated. So if a computer with a certain DNS name that matches your rule is added to the environment, it will automatically appear in the view. You can use the site wizard to group objects by subnet. The site wizard can import subnet information, site and subnet information from Active Directory or a CSV file, and it can be used for every object that has discovered IP information. So let's first create a dynamic list manually. Okay, this is the dynamic list configuration. As you see, you can define membership rules. You can also drag and drop explicit members to the list, or if you want a specific item to be excluded from the list, you can drag and drop it in the Excluded Members tab. Okay, let's first create a rule that will group all my computers in Redmond. For this demo, I use the demo computer class. I can select different discovered properties and I can select different operators. For now I will use the matches wildcard operator. I know that all my computers in Redmond start with USRDM, and I will give it a star as a wildcard. Using the update preview button you can see the matching items of the rule. So the rule we've just created appears here, and below you see the preview of the items that match the rule. I can use the edit button to change the rule settings, and I will now add another rule for all demo routers that are in the RedNet area. Okay. Let's save this view. So now we've seen an example how you can use a dynamic list manually. And secondly, we will use the sites wizard to import IP and subnet information from Active Directory. As you can see, you can select different sources of IP and subnet information. For now, we will choose the Active Directory. The wizard scans the Active Directory and has located a number of sites and their subnets. Now we can select the objects that we want to be grouped by IP address in the dynamic site list. By default, we already select the server, client and network device, but for this demo I will add a number of demo classes. So I select the demo class and I want the rule to be matched on the IP address property. Same for a router object. And let's finish this wizard. So what will happen now, a dynamic list is created for every site that has been discovered from Active Directory, and a rule is created for every object we have selected. So, for example, if we click the Amsterdam dynamic list, we see that it has created two rules, one for the demo computer, one for the demo router, and it matches the IP address information. As you see, we use regular expressions to do the matching on IP subnet. And if you want to add another class to this dynamic list, you can use the clone function. So the IP rule is already specified, and I'm now going to select another class. In this case, the demo switch, which also has a discovered IP address, and we use the same rule as we've just created with the wizard. And as you see, two new objects appear in the preview. Another option to group your objects by location is using a diagram. The diagram allows you to add extra context for the end user. It also allows you to add network link context. And the object properties will be automatically updated. And you need to create a diagram view for each location manually. You can add a diagram type of view using the drawing view type. Let's create a diagram for the Seattle office. Before we are going to add the actual monitored objects to this diagram, Let's first create some extra contexts for the end user using the new LiveMaps v3 drawing controls. So I've already looked up the objects for the Seattle office. They all start with USC. And let's first add the servers that are in the computer room. And as you see, by default, the label displayed is the display name of the discovered object. But using the label option, we can also change it to any other discovered property of the object. You can set the IP address, or if you want to select more than one property or display more than one property, select the IP address and NetBIOS computer name. And you can also control the order of the properties. Okay, let's add the router that is in the computer room and the switch. And here we are going to do the same. Select the name and IP address of the object. So let's add the objects that are on each office floor. Start with the switch. You can also set the background color of your diagram by selecting the page setup. Okay. So this is one option to group your objects by location and giving it a little bit more context for the end user. Another alternative is to create a more of a topology kind of view, which I've already created. And then you can also display the network links for each object. More about this topology drawings in another training video. So the last option I want to discuss of grouping your objects by location is by using a map kind of view. You can also give extra context for the end user. With the map view, you can use existing Visio diagrams, for example a rec or a site diagram. And you can use the hotspot feature in LiveMaps v3 to link a specific area on the map with a monitored object you have added to that map. You can also link it to a URL. And you need to create a map manually for each location. You can add a map view using the map wizard. You can select one of the out-of-the-box images, or you can use an a rec image you've created in Visio yourself and saved it as an image format. For this demo, we will use some of the example maps that come with live maps. So let's look up the devices for San Francisco. Drag and drop them on the map, and in this case I don't want to see the image, and I want the label to appear on the right. Line the objects we've just added. And what I'm going to do now is add a hotspot to an area on the map and associate it with one of the objects we've just added. Okay. So with live maps you can also nest views you have created. And using the nesting option you are able to create health state aware consolidated displays. And they will represent the health of all nested views on that display. We allow for unlimited level of nesting. An example of nesting is shown below. So before we are able to nest the views, let's first create an overview map using the map wizard. And we choose one of the out-of-the-box geographical images that come with live maps. So nesting views is as simple as drag and dropping the existing views on the overview map. And if you're displaying it on a large screen, you can also control the size of the state icon and label for better visibility. So for the Redmond and Seattle area, we are going to create another level of nesting. And we're going to create a map for the Washington state. Okay, let's add the Seattle office. and the RepNet office. And drag and drop the Washington State view we just created on the world view. It can take a few minutes before the state is actually calculated for a view, and it will not be updated in the authoring console, but if you open the view in the operations console, you will see that the state will be updated within a few minutes. Okay, just want to touch on the link-aware connections for a moment. With LiveMaps v3 you are able to basically monitor the links between your sites. And you can do that by associating a connection with one or two monitored objects that are responsible for the health of the network link. Just two examples here, one between two sites and one on a diagram view. So let's create a monitored connection between New York and London. For that you use the connector tool, just select New York, select London, and so the connector properties dialog will pop up after you have connected the connector between two sites. You can select an endpoint for each of the locations. So in New York we see that we have a router and two servers. On the router we have a number of interfaces that are monitored, and we select the serial 1 interface. And for London we also select the serial 1 interface. And as you will see, the line will turn up green if one of the selected monitored items, so the serial interfaces in this case, will get a critical state. The line will also show up critical on your world display. So we've now created a number of scenarios with LiveMaps and showed you how you can group your objects by location. Let's look at the result of the views we've just created. You can look at the views you've created using the Microsoft Operations Console and the LiveMaps Ops Manager extension. From the Operations Console you will have full access to all functionality from the views you've created with LiveMaps. The second option of looking at your maps you've created is using the LiveMaps Web Console. In version 3 you are able to link to the Ops Manager Web Console views from the maps you've created. So if you want to do some diagnostics and recovery actions, and you can also link a specific view from your portal, for example. So here we have the world view map we've just created. You can drill down by double clicking on the nested views and use the navigation options to go back to the main view. If you select an object on the map, you will see all context-sensitive tasks and report appear in the Actions pane. Double-clicking on the view will automatically run the Health Explorer in the context of the selected object. You can also view the connection properties of the active connection we've just configured. And new in v3 is the ability to filter your alerts by severity or by date. You can also specify an alarm sound to be played when a critical alarm appears on your map. So let's see that in action. can stop the alarm sound by selecting the object. We see that something is wrong on the New York router. You could also click on the network link and run the Health Explorer of the selected object. So another way of sharing your views is using the Live Maps web console. Let's open the world view we've just created. So besides running the full web console, you can also directly link to a specific view. And there are two options here, if you want to see the view only, or the view with the alerts pane at the bottom. So let's choose the view only modus. As you can see, use a unique URL to directly link to this map. And this URL can be used into a portal or a SharePoint site for integration. So from here, we can of course also drill down. So new in V3 is the ability to open the standard Microsoft Web views in the context of the selected object. So if I run the performance view for this server, the performance web view of the Microsoft console is opened, and I can just select the performance counters and see the performance of the specific server. You can also open a state view. And from here you have access to all the tasks that you can use to perform diagnostics or recovery for the specific server. So before I end this training video, I just want to give you some things to consider before you start creating your views for your locations. Of course, first you need to think of who's your target audience and what information do they need to do their job. What type of objects should I group by location? In this demo you've seen me grouping specific devices, so routers and servers for a location. But you can also, if you have a specific distributed application created for each location, you can also use that as an object to group by location. And how much time do you want to spend on creating and maintaining the views? If you have a lot of locations with a limited number of objects, you might want to consider using the import wizard and a dynamic list, which allows you to very quickly create a large number of location views, and after you have created the dynamic list, they will be updated automatically. In other cases, you might want to spend some more time giving extra context for the end user and using the diagram type of view. You can find more training materials on our website. And if you have any questions, you can always send an email to support@savision.com. Thank you.